Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. That means the podcast is tonight on the Ozark Gospel Podcast. Uh, Live streaming tonight, 7 o'clock on the Ozark Full Gospel Facebook page and the Ozark Full Gospel YouTube page. And of course, I will share it here on my page, and you can watch it like you do every week. We're really appreciative of all the viewers that we get. I've been out of touch. I'm not sure. I don't know who the guest is tonight, but whoever it is will have a good time. I know we're still in First Peter, unless James has decided to change that. You never know what he's going to do. We're in Revelation chapter 8. Jesus has opened the seventh seal, and the trumpet judgments come. Remember, the first set of judgments were the seven seals, and six were opened in chapter 6 and 7. The first four were the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The Antichrist, war, famine, and pestilence and death. And then the fifth seal was the martyrs, the Grand Mal revival, the martyrdom of the believers who came to faith right after the rapture. The sixth seal was the earthquakes and the signs in the heavens. And it was just the beginning of sorrows, as Jesus described in Matthew 24. Good morning, Shannon. And then we come up to the seventh seal, and when Jesus opens the seventh seal, there are some more earthquakes and lightnings. The earth trembles. But then it opens up 7 trumpet judgments. And we've looked at 3 of them, and we're going to continue today. I'm a little bit sleepy. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and last night I guess I was having a fight in my dream, and I turned my recliner over backwards, and when I hit the ground I woke up and I was staring at the ceiling, but the back of the recliner was between me and the floor, so I didn't hurt anything. I didn't hurt the recliner, I didn't hurt me. But I look up and there's Velda, pulling her oxygen hose and looking very scared. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm looking up at her. I said, I think I'm okay. What happened? She said, you just flew over backward. I went, well, there you go. But it was easy to get up. All I had to do was roll out of the chair and then kind of get up on my hands and knees and stand up. But it was a shock. I wondered why. I mean, I'm used to looking at like the walls and stuff. I'm not used to looking straight up at the ceiling, sitting in the recliner. So we've already had a lot of excitement around here today. It's never boring around here. We always have some catastrophe to befall us. We're not lacking stimulation. You can't say it's been boring. Chapter 8 of Revelation. And I'm really sleepy. But if I don't do the program, let's say this could happen. This is probably what would happen. If I went in and took a nap before the program, I might not wake up till noon. And then the afternoon takes over. And by noon, I will have had several calls on my phone. And one of them may well lead me to leave here to go take care of some business or another. And then there would be no program today. I know one thing, the Word of God is so exciting that once I get going, I usually always wake right up. Chapter 8, the Revelation. And when he had opened the seventh seal, that's he, Jesus, Because Jesus, the Lamb that was slain from the foundation of the earth, he was the only one found worthy to open the seven seals. And when Jesus had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. Good morning, Pastor Susie. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. Another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints on the altar. Offer it with prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. If you'll notice this golden altar, we haven't talked about this, but let's talk about the furniture of the tabernacle. The altar that they offered the food upon, the beasts, the lambs, the heifers, was a brazen altar, but this altar in heaven was gold. Let's see here if I have it in the notes. You know, the incense altar was where Zechariah, John the Baptist's father, went in to offer incense, and that's where Gabriel appeared to him and told him that he and his wife were going to have a child. Now I'm going to just keep you right here and then do something I rarely do because I think this is important. I used to know this, or I'm not sure if I ever knew it or not, but I should know it. I thought so. It was the acacia wood, but overlaid with gold. So the brazen altar was the offer for sacrifice was made out of brass or bronze, and it was hammered out. I mean, it was poured and then hammered out by a smith, by a metalsmith. But the incense altar, which was smaller, and it sat in the tabernacle, right near the Holy of Holies, and by the Ark of the Covenant, near the Ark of the Covenant, right there. And it was covered with gold, but it was wood covered with gold. The one here in heaven, which the one in the tabernacle and in the temple, they were replicas of the one in heaven because God gave Moses the pattern. It appears that it's all gold and not wood overlaid with gold. Remember that the things on the earth were just a pattern of the things in heaven. All the furniture, the altar, the Ark of the Covenant, the lamps and the bowls, the bath of water, the sea of forgetfulness, resembling the pavement in heaven, the crystal sea, the sea of forgetfulness, where the sins are drowned and cast behind the Father's back. Hello, Kevin. But in heaven, it's not the incense altar, which represents the prayers of the saints on the earth, is actually in heaven, is actually used for the prayers of the saints in heaven. And it's not just wood overlaid with gold. It's gold. because the things in heaven are better than the things that are replicated on the earth to represent what's in heaven, even though Moses made everything according to the pattern, the plans, and instructions that God gave to him through Bezaleel and Aholiab, in whom God placed the Spirit of God and all of the arts of the artificer. See, and another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which is before the throne. Remember, I told you that incense altar is right there by the Ark of the Covenant, and the throne is represented by the Ark of the Covenant, the throne of God. And in the Holy of Holies, that represents the throne room of God. Offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which is before the throne. The golden altar, not just wood from the earth covered with gold, but all gold. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up for God, before God, out of the angel's hand. It's a memorial to him, a sweet savor in his nostrils, a memorial. He remembers all the prayers. You see, the incense altar also is representative of the ministry of the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is the conduit by which our prayers go to God. It is a tunnel, a pipeline from our prayers our prayers travel in that pipeline to the throne of God. And the smoke of the incense, which came up with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. Now the altar that he takes it out of is the sacrifice altar, not the incense altar. The incense is going up to God, and this fire is going down to the earth. And the angel took the censer that he had the incense in, that he had offered the incense to God upon the incense altar. He took the same censer, and he filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. So we have this big deal in heaven where all the prayers of the saints are reaching the Father at the throne. And before the seven trumpets are handed out to the seven angels, but before the first one sounds, there's more earthquakes and voices and thunderings and lightnings. The people on the earth would know, hey, something's happening. Because there was silence in heaven for over a half hour. I wonder if that silence was hanging over the earth. I wonder if they could feel it. I wonder if they could sense it. We won't know till it comes, but I suspect that at the end of that half an hour, that's when all these thunders and lightnings and voices started happening, and they heard them on the earth because there were earthquakes and thunders coming after a quiet time. Good morning, Rita. God bless you. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. So the main thing that the seventh seal does is it unleashes the seven trumpet judgments and causes a pause in heaven. Again, I believe the reason for that pause is a God that's filled with patience, loving kindness, and not willing that any should perish, hoping that many would turn to during the space of a half hour. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. Verse 7, the first angel sounded the first trumpet, and there followed hail, and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And we talked a lot about what an ecological disaster that would be, both on the land and what it would do to the soil, what it would do to food production, and in the atmosphere, because the air would be getting dirtier. The air would not have enough balance between the oxygen and carbon dioxide, because the chlorophyll production had been ceased, and the photosynthesis ceased in a third of the trees. Well, Jimmy, do you really believe that a third of the trees on the earth are going to be destroyed? Yes, I believe that a third of the trees are going to be destroyed because it says so in this verse. It hadn't been done yet, so if it says it here, it means it's going to be done. God keeps every one of his promises. You need to remember that, because he's made some promises for evil. He says that no whoremonger or liar or idolater or adulterer or murderer is going to get into heaven. And such was some of me. Such was some of us. But we're washed, we're clean, we've repented. You need to come to Christ, and you don't have to worry about participating in these things. You'll be in heaven when a third of the trees on the earth are killed, and the people are wondering how come they have to cut off a slice of the air that they're trying to breathe. It's going to be bad. And the second angel sounded the second trumpet. And as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third of the part of the sea became blood, and a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. Second trumpet, this mountain on fire cast into the sea, volcano, earthquakes, geysers, explosions, ruptures, everything just like blowing up and falling apart like the world is angry. When Krakatoa in the South Pacific, when it exploded, it was 1887, 1880 something, there was a movie called Krakatoa, East of Java. The movie was sunk from the very beginning because Krakatoa is west of Java. If you look at a map, I don't know why the geniuses in Hollywood named the movie Krakatoa, East of Java. Well, it ain't east of Java, it's west. But when it went off in the 1800s, late 1800s, it was like 12, 15 years before the air cleared, before the balance of oxygen and CO2 were balanced. And that was localized, but how many of the green trees died there? How many of much of the green grass died in that part of the world? How many islands were completely deforested with the eruption of Krakatoa? And that was a localized thing. This is going to be so big a deal that this mountain burning with fire, a volcano, an earthquake, a geyser, a volcano, a mountain burning with fire, cast into the sea. Well, does the earthquake like tear up the land so that it all falls into the sea? What if Mount St. Helens erupted and that part of Oregon and Washington State just all of a sudden collapsed and the Pacific River come running where in that gap where the Cascades used to be? What if Old Faithful finally blew and that fault happened? They said that if there's ever the big blow at Yellowstone with Old Faithful, that it might rip the country all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and the sea rush in. And so, Jimmy, you're talking right. You're talking like a liberal tree hugger. These are the things that God says are going to happen. That's when I see, the environment being destroyed. I said, well, we're getting closer to the days that God wrote about through John. And God, the Holy Ghost, decided that we need to know so we can be able to see what the last days look like. I mean, did you expect the end of the world to be pretty? Did you expect it to be a pleasant time? I didn't. I always knew it would be horrible. Maybe that's why I fell over in my chair last night. Maybe I was seeing some of the revelation. In my dream, I was fighting a guy, but I was having trouble talking. I had to say it 2 or 3 times. He said he was going to come back and kill me. He was going to send men to kill me. And I said, well, I want you to come with him because you and I were going to talk again. I said, they may get me, but I'm going to kill you before I die. You come on back. I want you to come back with all your friends. That's been my attitude most of my life. I ain't never took nobody's word in advance that they's going to do something to me. I just let them talk. But if they're going to come. We're all ready for them. That's the way I used to be, you see, but now I'm frail. But I'm not afraid of anything because the Lord God will protect me. I know that as long as that I am doing what He has entrusted me to do, that I am indestructible until He's decided that I'm done. Now that could happen at any time. I could be done at any time. It's not when I think I'm done, it's when He thinks I'm done. My life is in His hands, completely in His hands. But you have to understand that there's going to be great climactic and ecological disasters as part of these judgments. If all the green grass is destroyed, what happens to the soil? What prevents erosion? What future is there for crops? A third of the ships are destroyed in the third trumpet or the second trumpet. A third of the ships are destroyed. Well, if nothing else, how about that bringing nitrogen from Ukraine and Russia, which produces more nitrogen, like over 50% of the world's nitrogen. And we've already used up the soil so much that you can't grow cash crops without nitrogen fertilizer. We think that we have a string that we can just play out forever. There's an end to the string. Once you played out all your string, there ain't no string left. You're holding on to the end of it. You can either haul it back, and it could come back empty, or with a monster on the hook. or he could pull you with it. Yes, I'm talking about natural disasters, and they come under the judgment of God. So if we can see these things beginning to happen today, then how much horror is there going to be during the tribulation? You know, this verse haunts me. I talk about it all the time. Chapter 11, verse 18. This is at the midpoint of the Great Tribulation. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. There will be a price to pay for destroying the earth, friends, even if it's in God's plan of destruction. They're not going to be able to dump their chemicals in the river with impunity, or let radioactive material out into the air and hide it from us. You know, there's not going to be any more of that. The geniuses in power now think there's going to be. They think if they get rid of all regulation, everything will be fine. But we know, those of us who came up in the 60s and 70s, we know how bad it is. And that if it were up to the corporations, you know, we wouldn't have drinking water. It'd only be for the rich. And they wouldn't care about the air we breathe. What's the air quality in Pakistan tonight, Susie? See what I mean? The end of the world is not pretty, but you're privileged to be watching it. It's like watching a TV show. We never run out of material. Back to the second trumpet, the second angel sounded, as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. And a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And a third part of the ships were destroyed. So now it's beginning to affect the economy by the second trumpet, as if it hadn't already by the first four seals. The third trumpet, beginning in verse 10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a gold star, a great star from heaven. I guess I have gold star families on my mind this morning. And the liars in the government will not tell us how many of our troops have been killed in Iran. They hide it from us. We have no idea of the number of casualties because they won't release them. They claim a dozen dead. If they're claiming a dozen, there's probably 1,200. Governments never tell you the truth about numbers. They always try to make it look like it's better than it is. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon a third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters, the aquifers, the springs, the source of the rivers. And the name of the star is called wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. It means poison. They became poisoned. Poison. Jeremiah. Talking about the coming destruction of Jerusalem. He says, verse 14, because people believe in the lies of their leaders. Don't believe the lies of your leaders. Don't believe the lies of false prophets. Don't believe the lies of academia and the media and the government. Verse 14, Jeremiah 23. I've seen also the prophets of Jerusalem, a horrible thing. They commit adultery. Every day we have some self-proclaimed prophet or religious leader in the United States who has had an inappropriate relationship with some girl that's, young enough to be his daughter or granddaughter. I've seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. They strengthen also the hands of evildoers, that none doth return from his wickedness. They are all of them unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood, poison. Since what they're proclaiming, since what coming out of their mouth is poison, I'm going to put poison in their mouth. Behold, I will feed them with wormwood and make them drink the water of gall. For the prophet of Jerusalem is profane. For from the prophets of Jerusalem is profaneness gone forth into all the land. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, not out of the mouth of the Lord. Remember, God destroys nations who make covenant with him for 3 reasons, and 3 reasons only. They're always the same. There are no exceptions. They went a-whoring after other gods. They sacrificed their children, and they believed the lies of false prophets. Well, we're there now. And the name of the star is called wormwood, and a third part of the waters became wormwood. Poison, it became poison. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. They drank the poison, and many were dead. This brings us up to the 4th trumpet. And the 4th angel sounded, and a third part of the sun was smitten. How does it change the climate if we only get a third of the sunlight we would normally get? Just throwing that out there. And the 4th angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. It says the third part of them were darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So a third of the night was dark, and a third of the day was dark. Darker than usual. And deal with the sun being smitten. This is the final fulfillment of Joel 2, which Peter preached on the day of Pentecost. Verse 28, chapter 2 of Joel. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids. In those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Even then, he will deliver. The fourth angel sounded, and a third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. In Isaiah 13, which is a judgment on Babylon, which we will revisit again and again here in chapter 17 and 18 and 13 of Revelation. In Isaiah chapter 13, says, Howl ye, verse 6, chapter 13 of Isaiah, which is the final destruction of Babylon, as I say, which takes place in Revelation 17 and 18, modern Babylon. I know it's a big subject. We'll spend a long time in chapters 13, 17, and 18. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be flames. They'll be embarrassed. Their faces will be red. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for evil. That's what the Great Tribulation is all about. God's wrath on them who would believe not the gospel, who obeyed not the gospel, who refused to turn to Jesus Christ. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. He couldn't do that too quick to please me. It ain't quick enough. Beam me up, Scotty. I've already seen enough of this dog and pony show. I'm ready to go home and be with the Lord. I'm ready to see my daddy again. I've missed him every day for 50 years and 7 months. I never got over it. I'll get to see him again. I'll get to talk to him again. And one day we'll be together in glory because Daddy knew Jesus. The fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, the fourth trumpet, the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for the third part of it, and the night likewise. This was predicted throughout all the Old Testament. And now it will come to pass far beyond the New Testament, far beyond the church age. It will come to pass during the great tribulation upon the earth, the time of Jacob's trouble, the day of the Lord, the day of Christ. The great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And the fourth angel sounded. The third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, and the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and night likewise. How do you grow crops with no nitrogen? How do you grow crops with no topsoil because all the green grass is gone? How do you grow crops when the aquifers have been destroyed and made wormwood, where a third part of all the waters are poison, all the fresh water? How do you grow crops when the sun don't shine? You know, I used to think it was so easy. A little bit of sun, a little bit of water, you got food. But I challenge you. You know, my science credentials are very slim. I passed high school biology barely. I passed high school physical science barely. My mind just doesn't turn that way. I was grateful for the algebra and the geometry that I was able to retain because, as I said, I had smart girlfriends who tutored me and helped me with my answers. One of them came through just the other day, Sharon Evans. She was smart, our valedictorian. And the girl I was dating, she was very sharp also, very diligent. But in my trade as an electrician, the algebra and the geometry were necessary. I wish I knew more about science, but I do know this, that if it wasn't for a thin layer of topsoil between 6 inches and 9 inches to 10 inches, depending on where you're at, if not for that and the fact that the sun shines and it rains, the entire world would starve to death. Period. And that is the mighty grace of God. He made it so simple that even an idiot could put a seed in the ground and cover it up and let the sun shine on it and the rain shine on it, and wheat or corn or barley or something rise up from it. And you could have food. Stock could have fodder. If you had the wherewithal, you could have meat. You could drink wine from the vineyard. But none of it happens without that thin layer of topsoil, rain and sunshine. A third part of the grass is already gone by the fourth trumpet. So where's the topsoil? Third part of the trees are gone. Where's the topsoil? A third of the fresh water is destroyed. The sun is not shining for a third of its time. How will anything grow? What will people eat? Now, I know that these are problems that most people don't want to be bothered with. We don't have to be bothered with it. We can go to, well, here it's, here it's Price Cutter. In Texas, it's HEB or Kroger. You just go to the grocery store. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. But where do you think all that meat and all those vegetables and all that bread, where do you think it all comes from? In the end, it comes from a thin layer of topsoil and the facts that it rains and the sun shines. And when that's gone, what will we eat? The fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld, it's John writing, remember, he's writing what he's seeing in the future in heaven. He's given a vision. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the three angels which are yet to sound. This angel flies through heaven, and he's saying in a loud voice, Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. 3 woes. There's 3 more trumpet judgments left. The first 4 have brought a third of all the trees gone, burned up, all the green grass burned up, great mountain burning into the sea, and a third part of the sea becoming blood, and a third part of the creatures in the sea dead, and a third part of the ships destroyed. The third trumpet, the great star falling from heaven and falling upon the waters, the headwaters, the springs, the fountains of waters, the springs, the aquifers, the water table, the fresh water supply. And the name of the star is called wormwood, poison. And a third part of the waters became wormwood, poison. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter, because they were poisoned. And now the fourth trumpet, third part of the sun smitten, third part of the moon, the third part of the stars. Third part of them was dark, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, 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 trumpet, 5, 6, and 7. Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. And they will sound here. And 2 of them will sound in chapter 9. And then the last one will sound toward the end of chapter 11. The food supply of the earth has been destroyed. The water supply of the earth has been destroyed, contaminated. I'm sure that our scientific geniuses will come up with some help for that. This angel that flies through the midst of heaven and says with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. And it calls them earth dwellers, to the inhabitants of the earth. These 3 woes are especially bad, and they're going to be worse individually than any of the 7 seals or the first 4 trumpet judgments. Well, we will leave it there for today and pick it up tomorrow. We have finished chapter 8, and we finished the first 4 of the 7 trumpet judgments. God bless you all. Remember the podcast tonight. I can't get it to turn off. What do I do now, Ma? Here we go.